Well, good morning, folks. I wanted to start this off by just going over the local forecast here for the next 15 days. We got some near record temperatures possible here at the beginning of the period. We're cooling off quite a bit here and then warming up towards the middle of next week to near normal, slightly above normal temperatures for highs and lows. You see the lows will be below freezing here um, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So maybe 80 degrees today for highs, right? So you look at this here, very warm and muggy through Friday. Atlanta today high 78, Athens, 76, Athens 76, near record temperatures in Columbus and Macon, and maybe approaching record temps again on Friday, right? And then on Saturday, because of the clouds and rainfall around, will be cooler, although still be pretty warm, right? So, um, looking at the rain chances look to increase towards the weekend, right? Like we talked about, cooler temps and then cooling off quite a bit, like I showed in the extended here. Um, and through Monday, it's going to get below freezing, right? Well below normal temperatures will be in play for a few days, and then it'll warm up again quite quickly. So not uncommon for this time of year for the flip-flop of temperatures, but we're reminded that spring is on the way. So we got a lot of stuff going on as far as current hazards go. Almost too much to mention here. Special weather statements. Looks like dense fog in some areas here in Florida, and some dense fog here in the Midwest and in the parts of the mid-Atlantic. And we have some potential for some melted snow, refreezing, black ice, and some icy conditions out in the mid-Atlantic to the Midwest this morning. Winter storm watch up here in Vermont. Um, just all kind of stuff going on. More fog-related stuff, right? And up here in the upper Midwest, we have winter storm warnings. Gale watch. We got winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings here in Wyoming, Montana, Nebraska, parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin. Cold weather advisory for cold temps way up to the north here in Montana. These cold temps will push to the south in the coming days as well. Got some wind and fire related alerts here. Red flag warning, fire weather warning, red flag warnings, winter storm warnings in the Colorado Rockies. Avalanche warnings from the heavy snow potential here, right? Right to the west of the Denver area. Um, moving through the west here, it's just incredible how much stuff we got on the map. Winter weather advisory, wind advisories here. Winter storm warnings, Utah, Salt Lake City. Avalanche warnings. All right. Further to the west in California, we got wind-related advisories here. Wind advisory, winter weather advisory in Southern California and the California mountains. You have winter storm warnings, um, freeze watch in the valley here. It looks like um, extreme cold warning along the east coast here, the west coast of California. Okay, so geez, that's pretty interesting. Must be the trough going onshore, bringing cold air down from the north, right? Carson City, winter weather advisor, avalanche warning. Up to the north, more winter storm warnings here. Winter storm warnings further north into Oregon, winter weather advisories, and some more up here. Freeze watch right along the Oregon coastline as well. So that's pretty impactful here. Let's look at temperatures here real quickly with this. Yeah, pretty chilly for California and Oregon standards, especially on the coast here, 30s and 40s, right? And you see where the coldest temps are up here up north, um, in the northern high plains here, in the negative single digits. That's where your coldest area is. Look up here in Canada, it's a negative 20, negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit this morning. So when we look at current winds here, let's look at the winds real quick. Yeah, 20, 30 miles per hour already. Um, along the Front Range here. So anywhere the cold temps overlay the winds, we're going to have wind chill values that be pretty excessive as well. So we have to keep that in mind as we go through the day today. When we look at the excessive rainfall outlook, it's mostly centered out west here, right? But we also have, well, anyway, we have a slight risk in Southern California this morning, generally in the same area that's had this in the past week or so. Los Angeles, Riverside, San Diego, Long Beach, Santa Barbara, right? And also we have a marginal risk. I don't know if I said slight out west, but anyway, sorry about that if I did. But it's kind of a neat product here. I decided to use this instead of other ones, but you got a marginal risk of excessive rainfall with exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles of a point in this area here today. So be mindful of that. So we moved to day 4 for the excessive rainfall outlook, which is Sunday, when we're expecting a marginal risk of excessive rainfall here into parts of Northern California, Redding, Santa Rosa, Uki, Crystal City, and parts of Southern Oregon. Then moving into Monday, pretty much the same area here is covered by the marginal risk of excessive rainfall as well. So the threat of heavy rainfall moving further to the north after being further south at the beginning of the period here. There's been a continuous fire weather problem out here out west, and we continue to have an issue here with critical fire weather today and elevated as well all along and south into the deep south here, parts of the the plains with high winds and dry fuels could lead to fires, and maybe there's fires already ongoing. So um, don't burn today, guys, okay? So moving on till tomorrow with this, we still have a critical risk here in parts of Texas and New Mexico, parts of Oklahoma and Colorado, and a small part of Kansas as well. And if we go day 3 to 8, day 3, we have a critical fire weather conditions here expected, and 70 to 40% risk here on day, let's see, day 3, day 4, this is the total risk here, sorry. Day 3, 70 and 40%. Day 4, 40% further to the south here. And 5, 6, wow, Southern Florida, we got a 40% risk. Quicker area, dry fuels in Southern Florida have been really dry there. And you go through the rest of the period and nothing on the map. So in the next several days, we're going to have critical fire conditions here out west, and then moving into Florida. Maybe some high winds, and with dry fuels, could be some fires there as we go through, get closer to March here. So for today's severe risk, we have the big event, so to speak, here in the Ohio Valley, with a slight risk, categorical risk, Indiana, Illinois, Columbus, Ohio, parts of Kentucky here, with a larger marginal risk surrounding it and general thunderstorms. And also a chance for, that is, I don't know if this is accurate, guys. That's been there. Let me see if it's there on day 2. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, showing us marginal risk right along the California coast this morning with general thunderstorms. There was a bug yesterday. It kept having stuff there. So that's what it's showing. So tornado risk, a small tornado risk we have centered here in Indiana, near Louisville, Hillsborough, Illinois, and a marginal risk going up to just north of Columbus, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Peoria, Illinois, Bowling Green, Farmington, and down to Bowling Green, Kentucky. There's 2 Bowling Greens here. I didn't know that. Interesting. Somerset, Kentucky, Huntington, Athens, back to Columbus here. So larger risk is with the winds here. It's mostly driven by wind and hail, right? We look at the hail risk as well. So hail risk is a little bit larger here. And we have the wind risk is not quite as large, but you see the 15% chance, 50% wind chance of 15% wind risk. So what that means is 50 knot winds are possible within 25 miles of a point, okay? 50% chance within 25 miles of a point here. So, and out west, you got the wind risk as well along the California coast. No tornado risk. maybe, and no hail risk either, just winds. So moving into day 2, that area moves to the south here, and this is driven by hail, which is interesting. Usually we don't get hail down in here. No wind risk, at least right now. So there's a marginal hail risk tomorrow, okay? You can see where the boundary is pushing through here. So that's what's driving this here. Maybe up a level. Colder temperatures are driving the hail threat here. And further to the south, we got the marginal risk here. And I think this is mostly driven by wind at this point, but marginal risk. But they do talk about the possibility that this could be increased, the probabilities as we get later closer to this. This would be Sunday, okay? And we go into marginal risk right now, any severe risk. So go day 4, 5, 6 through 8, nothing on the map. So thankfully, we'll be done with severe weather for a little while. So as we start off the short term, right, we see the low moving to the north here, northeast, with overrunning precip and maybe some freezing precip on the north side. Severe weather here into the central, the Ohio Valley, and increasing severe chances and heavy rainfall potential. Some heavier rainfall potential down the south here. So, and we got the system coming onshore in the west here with colder temperatures pushing in. The potential for severe weather today, then some snow in the Intermountain West here as well, because it's coastal low developing offshore here. I hate that this keeps bringing that up every time I hover over that, but yeah. So for today, we're going to focus on the severe weather threat in the Ohio Valley, and in the future, we're going to focus on the potential winter storm on the East Coast, but this model doesn't go out that far, so we'll look at that tomorrow probably, or later today. So as we move into the severe weather threat area for today, this is a good representation of the model output, right? Moving through time with this, we get to 1 p.m. Yeah, by early afternoon, the HRR is already depicting supercells with rotating updrafts along the east of the push of the mid-level system here, right? And let's take a look at that real quick. If you forgive me here for switching around, okay? You can see what looks like a warm front maybe moving to the north here. So let's take a look at that too. Um, one second. Yeah, this is a pretty big change from yesterday. See the increasing dew points here near 60 degrees in this area, right? And so much better moisture moving to the north here. Like yesterday, I was looking at this. We weren't getting 60-degree dew points further to the north. So you can kind of make out here, if we look at temperatures real quick, maybe the warm front is a little bit further up to the north here, right? You can see the push here. Looks like the warm front moving further to the north here, right, with time. Go back to dew points. This is better, probably a better representation of it. Dew point wind barbs, warm front further up to the north, but 60-degree dew points making pretty far north here. So, yeah, as we go back to the reflectivity and helicity here, definitely worth noting what's going to happen in this area, right? You have this initial push, 2 to 3, 4 p.m., moving to the east, moves away from the better dynamics, and you get some redevelopment of some cells here further to the south, but dynamics aren't as good, right? Even though you have higher dew points, with a cold front potentially pushing through this way, which is bringing increased convection and maybe some high winds further to the east here. So pretty quick evolution of this today. All right. So this is borne out by the severe risk is borne out by the supercell composite index. See here where the convective cells, the cellular nature, and the supercells develop. Right. You see what happens here is you lose bit of dynamics. overnight, we lose pretty much all that energy in the atmosphere, right? So this is a pretty high values here. So it looks like the warm front is generally in here. You see where it seems like the vorticity is the highest right here. So let's look at that. You see where the 3 cape here is highest. This is energy in the lowest levels of the atmosphere, okay? And what this tells us is there's a lot of vorticity at the lowest levels. And you see along the dry line here too. This is 6 p.m. There's like a dry line here with the dew points. Go back to dew points here. Real quickly here. You see the dry air and some bulges here in the line, right? Wherever you have those, this is an interesting feature because you don't usually get this west-east push this time of year with the dry air, all right? But this could also trigger some storms along this line here. So although it's not shown explicitly on these products, I wouldn't rule that out. Go back to the reflectivity. Yeah, let me see, go back to the dew point again. I know we keep switching here, but I just want to see. See, it looks like the best dynamics are right along this one front here. Although it wouldn't surprise me if we see some kind of dry line interaction here as well. So be interesting to see how this plays out. And you see over time, this moisture source kind of gets pinched off here, although it's quite moist down here into Georgia, right? As we go through the period. That's 48 hours out. That's through Saturday morning. So we'll see if the moisture source here recovers as we get towards the weekend. So one other thing we look at too is the mixed layer CAPE, which is indicator of how much energy there is in the atmosphere, right? And so we look at this value. We're talking. This isn't just total CAPE, not just either most unstable or surface-based CAPE. This is mixed level, right? So let's look at the sounding real quick of the atmosphere here. It's a little bit corrupted here with some some precipitation, but quite quite a profile here with plenty of instability. Let's go back in time a little bit here. Even as we go through time, go back a little bit with this. Sees a little bit of a warm nose atop this layer, right? Which will keep convection from firing initially, okay? See the dry air aloft. And 3 cape is already 85, which is pretty high to start with. And you see pretty much straight photographs with some curvature at the lowest levels, okay? And the level for convection is separated from the LCL, so likely elevated convection if it fires at this point. You see as the lower levels moisten up here, 65 or 61, you have a pretty stout profile here with CAPE, most unstable CAPE 884, surface. We have pretty good CAPE here for this time of year. Convective available potential energy 3 CAPE at 104. Let's see, downdraft CAPE. There's still some hints of dry air aloft here, but not bad for lapse rates either. Lapse rates are surface to 3 kilometer, 8 centimeters per kilometer, 8.1 Celsius per kilometer. These are all above 6 Celsius. So 6 Celsius is your like say cutoff for dry adiabatic and moist adiabatic lapse rates. So if you get below 6, then the parcel in the atmosphere is likely to sink, right? But if you get above 6 Celsius, then it's likely to rise. So the higher these values here, lapse rates, very steep. I mean, um, hence the hail risk and wind risk as well. So the storm relative velocity values right where I'm looking at this here aren't overly impressive, but given the unstable atmosphere here, um, and all the different factors with the um, lapse rates, we definitely have the potential for severe weather here. Lots of energy aloft here too. So, um, anyway, that's my detailed analysis of this. I appreciate y'all watching. Um, and I'm going to go over a long range forecast as well as part of my forecast today. And if you want to, you can stick around for that. I'm looking at data 3 to 7 hazards here, the 21st to the 25th, excuse me, which is next week. Heavy precip, heavy snow out west here. High wind potential the 24th here in the plains, central plains. Heavy snow potential along the east coast and significant waves and high winds. So the Climate Prediction Center, Weather Prediction Center, is still doubling down on this threat here. So next week for heavy snow. So we'll see what happens. Hazardous cold and high winds are expected here in Alaska during this period as well. As we move to the 8 to 14 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, right? We've been talking about this with heavy rainfall potential in the Ohio Valley to Mississippi Valley up into the parts of the Midwest here, the 26th to the 27th, and along the west coast of the U.S., roughly between the 26th and the 2nd here. So the beginning of March is going to be focused for wet weather on the west coast and in Ohio Valley here. As far as snowfall goes, heavy snowfall expected out west here, but further to the north than it's been recently. It's been more focused on the Sierra Nevada. Now it's the northern part of the Rocky Mountains here and the Cascades. So maybe there's a different name for this up here. I have to remember what that is. The different high terrain up here. Sorry if I don't remember it, guys. Sorry. um, Slight risk of heavy snow in the upper Midwest, the parts of the north central plains here, and a slight risk of heavy snow also up here in the northeast and part of the Great Lakes, New York State, and New England area. High winds, we have pretty large areas here, the 26th to the 27th, along in just to the west of the Mississippi River, all the way to the east coast. Moderate risk here through most of this period, the west coast into parts of the Intermountain West, and a slight risk, larger slight risk here during that same period, and into southern Alaska during the whole period here. Hazardous temps look to be relegated to cold weather here in the Alaska during this period as well. Well, as of right now, the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook shows below normal temps in Florida and along the east coast up into the northern New England, with above normal temps here into most of the central part of the country, near normal temperatures out west and maybe the northern high plains, below normal in Alaska, above in Hawaii, above to near normal to below in the Aleutian Island chain. And the CPC is outlook in most of the continental U.S. during the 8 to 14 day period. Excuse me, above normal temps here, near normal in the northwestern part of the United States. Although there's been a lot of talk that maybe this won't be quite as warm here along the eastern seaboard. We'll just have to see how that plays out. Below normal in Alaska is still here, with above the near normal in Aleutian Island chain to below, further to the east, and above in Hawaiian Islands. When we move to the precipitation, excuse me, we're expecting above normal precip with a very active pattern as we go through this period, right? Now we know that in the past forecasts have kept precip below normal in the south, and that continues here with these highlighted areas above normal precip in the Ohio Valley and out west. And we talked about that in the long range forecast, except for excessive rainfall outlook, stuff like that. This is a little bit past that, but like the 8 to 14 day hazards highlight these areas. Near normal to below to above precip chances here in Alaska, Aleutian Islands, depending where you're at, you can see what you got going on there. and above here in the Hawaiian Island chain. Uh, a little further out, the pattern shifts a little bit further to the north with um, more active weather further to the north here. So near normal precip expected in between here, with below normal precip chances shifting to the west a little bit here and southwest. Below to near normal and above in the getting tongue-tied Alaska here, near normal to below to potentially above, way far to the east here in Alaska, right at the edge of Alaska here. That's part of the Aleutian Islands, but excuse me, and above normal, slightly above normal here in the Hawaiian Island chain as well. So when it comes to the East Coast storms, why is the European and GFS showing two different solutions? This is one representation that will help you understand this, right? You have a 500 millibar vorticity, right? You have a lot of stuff on the screen here, right? So we'll start this off Friday, okay? Got a mid-level feature here in the middle, and out west here, right? These features, this one seems to the north. This short wave moves through the flow, right? Kind of strung out at this point, okay? You have some more short waves move through the flow here. This is Saturday. Have a couple more short waves in the flow. A bunch of different energy sources here. None really get consolidated, right? The trough digs, but way far to the south. And what's the result? We look at the thickness values here. The system develops offshore here. We could get the development of some snow just to the west here as this spins up, but not nearly as impactful as what the GFS shows, which I'm going to show next. Here's a GFS starting on Friday. Same general flow pattern, right? You have these mid-level features in the flow, okay? This one diving to the south, this one here, and this up here. The flow up to the north flattens out. You see this trailing short wave, right? And you see the main 500 millibar vorticity really wraps up as it makes its way offshore here, okay? Which I think may be somewhat overdone given the GFS tendency to wrap up vorticity quicker than it normally would. So this is why, well, one of the reasons anyway, I'm not going to say this is why, but you have a more potent East Coast storm here, potentially bringing in heavy snow right along the coast. All right, so I'm also going to look at the Canadian model as well compared to these two next. Interestingly enough, the Canadian 00Z run shows roughly the same thing as the GFS, so not quite as strong here. Really gets wrapping up pretty quickly just before it goes offshore. Maybe look at the upper air heights. Offers a somewhat similar solution, right, with the different vorticities consolidating here for the most part, although yeah, you have a main vorticity lobe here and some back end energy further to the south here, but this is why it kind of doesn't wrap up quite as quickly here, because it seems to get stronger as it just moves offshore. I'd like to use the 500 millibars to analyze this stuff. So that's although there's good agreement, I think that we're going to get something developed offshore here. There's not a lot of agreement between the three models, the three globals here. So yeah, so anyway, that's my analysis of why there's a difference in the snowfall outputs and potential snowfall outputs between the three big global models here. So here's a snowfall forecast through Sunday, right? Sunday is 0Z, which is Saturday night, right? You deduct amount of hours depending on where you're at in the United States. Anyway, between now and Sunday, expect to be between up to 30 inches of snow here in the Sierra Nevada range. Some heavier snow in parts of Nebraska here, the upper Midwest, and the Northeast here, right? So we start off Friday. See a lot of today through Friday, right? 24-hour accumulation. See the amounts are highest here in the Sierra Nevada. That switches to the east here. You have some higher amounts in Nebraska, Iowa, as this trough swings through, right? Okay, and you have lessening amounts out west here for a little while, and you have an east coast storm spinning up just to the in the northeast, right, and some snow up here into the Midwest, and then that moves out, and we move into the extended, and this is as far as it goes for right now. So as far as the ice forecast, let's look at icing here. Totals through Sunday. Highest icing amounts are in the Midwest here, upper Midwest, and in New York State, Massachusetts, Connecticut. Potentially some areas, maybe a quarter inch here. And we go through time with this, we see the highest amounts. Some small icing possible through Friday, generally in the upper Midwest and parts of the Great Lakes here, maybe in the higher terrain in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. Icing looks to be on the increase here as we go through Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday, right, with the storm off the coast here and throwing back some moisture into maybe some colder air, right? That'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but that's the icing amounts, okay? So towards the weekend, Friday into the weekend, is when the highest amounts are expected here, okay? This looks like maybe it's coming from west to east here, all right? So total precip through the period, of course, the highest amounts expected here in California, in Georgia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, in the Northeast here, Mid-Atlantic, and in the upper Midwest. And some of this may be frozen, right? But through Friday, the highest amounts are in the Mid-Atlantic states. Moisture swings through to the Northeast here, and we get the just general rainfall here into Georgia, right? Some potentially heavy rainfall here, and into the Northeast with the snow and ice. So it looks like a swath of heavy snow, not snow, rainfall, not heavy, but heavier rainfall here Saturday into Sunday for Georgia. So let's see what the point forecast is. About a half inch of rain through that period. So we could have up to an inch of rain total here through that period. So that's good news for the South. So in closing, I really appreciate y'all watching here. My channel. I've gone over 1,100 subscribers now, and this wouldn't be possible without your support. So I really appreciate that. And I do this because it's my passion. And thank you for watching. And I appreciate you tuning in, even when there's not a lot of weather going on. So once again, thank you, and hope you have a great day. And God bless.